Welcome to Flipside Crypto. Joining me today is a guest which has quite a few trust issues, let's just say. His project will help make the future a lot more transparent, a lot more trustworthy. Welcome, Wasim, to our show. And actually, Wasim is part of a project, Proof of Trust. Is that correct?
That's correct. And Martinez, thank you very much to have me here today. Absolutely delighted to be speaking with you guys. I'd love to share some more information about the Proof of Trust and some of the amazing products that we're bringing to market and some that are already there as well.
Could we start with, what problem does Proof of Trust solve?
Well, it's quite an interesting question. We're looking at very different markets at Proof of Trust. We're looking at utilizing blockchain and the power of blockchain, its immutability, its transparency, its efficiency, all of these incredible things that we know so much about and have been proven many times over to really tackle new issues in a different light. We're tackling the governmental space where we see fraud, corruption, tax issues, transparency issues, efficiency issues. We're looking at the commercial space where we see archaic processes in legal framework and traditional arbitration means are slow and ineffective really to deal with modern issues, especially in pressing times as we've seen with COVID, which has really impacted and shown the necessity for digitization. And then we're doing things like using the power of distributed legal assistance to really benefit those who don't have the greatest reach or access to courtrooms through some of our products that are aimed specifically at access to justice. And we're also tackling most recently trust issues within the crypto community pertinent to DeFi, looking at some of the issues and the pressing effects of regulatory closure, impacts around heavy and over regulation, and how we can really strike that middle balance for consumer protection for the community, the involvement of traditional institutions into that world, but also pacifying the regulators, but protecting everybody as part of that overall ecosystem. So we're looking at a lot of different challenges. We're using blockchain in many different ways, but we just think it's an incredible technology, and we're looking to bring greater trust to the entire ecosystem as a result of these incredible applications that we have developed.
Now, I have to ask, are you a trusting person?
I absolutely believe I am.
Because you have so many products, which I just want to clarify as we were doing our research. Astra, Nebula, Nimbus, Cosmos. Could you just help our viewers at home kind of put them into boxes, right? So for example, Astra. Could you just help us understand, is this a working product? What is its scope? And just point by point so people really can get a sense of the scale of what you're trying to achieve.
Well, Martinez, I may actually approach this question slightly differently. But I'm actually going to start with the core application that we've built. We have developed a technology built on blockchain that is designed to bring decentralized trust to lots of different environments. How we do that is we connect this to virtually any application. We're able to pull data into the application and then connect the pressing issues or reasons for instigating proof of trust application to a decentralized network of trusted individuals. And those individuals are coming from many different spheres. They're coming from the legal and professional services industry, they're coming from governmental employees, and they're coming from the crypto community themselves. So we're looking at the usage of this application and how we connect people's issues to a distributed, decentralized panel of experts to resolve them. And the reason we're using blockchain for this is because it's transparent, it's because it's efficient, because it gives us that permanent, immutable record of the events, and it stays truthful in and of itself. And that's why many people believe in cryptocurrency and the blockchains that they live upon, is because the information that they produce is trustworthy. So let's tackle those different products and look at what they're providing. Firstly, Astra. Well, we all know the pressing issues with DeFi. We've seen major over-regulation, pressing regulation coming in now that looks at decentralized finance in particular and says, whoa, let's park the brakes for a minute let's start to bring in checks and balances that in some ways can be very inhibitive of growth, because we've got new products, new technology exposed to a somewhat uneducated marketplace, or some people who are very unfamiliar with that. And with that comes risk. So we're bringing out this product to equip all smart contracts in the future with the ability to raise this distributed panel of experts for a number of different reasons. And those reasons can be AML checks, they can be professional service checks, they can be accreditation checks, it could be dispute resolution. All of these different things are required now, not only to serve the communities so that they have trust every time they initiate a smart contract, every time they engage on a DeFi platform, they know wholeheartedly that if something goes wrong, there is a protocol that is trustworthy, that it can tell me the facts, that it can connect me to those services and those professionals in a trusted manner. I don't have to go through slow courtrooms. I don't have to wait 3 years to enact on an issue. And I certainly don't have to go through traditional arbitration means. I can do it in a way that's fair, just, and transparent, because this is a public blockchain product. We're in the process of adapting our core technology for all the major layer 1 blockchains out there, so that we can start to serve those different slices of industries and sector within DeFi, providing protection. And that, in a nutshell, is Astra. Nebula is a very different product. Nebula is a centralized blockchain product. So it's not decentralized, it doesn't live on public blockchain. And that's because it's designed specifically to serve governments. So let's think about what governments are. They're incredibly complex, litigious processes where you have to have multiple checks and signatories for virtually everything. Now, if you take our distributed consensus methodology and the fact that you can call this service either manually or through data parameters, it's perfect to eliminate fraud. If there is an erroneous issue, let's say somebody claims some money off a government for land disbursement, right now there is an opportunity for risk within Gov that allows a single person to sign something off without that data trail behind it, without the immutable record of blockchain, and that creates weakness in government too. That's also true for public aspects of financial services within Gov. If you look at the EU, and VAT is around a 300 billion euro issue per year, we can use Nebula to actually call that service, bring out that distributed panel of officials to review it, so we don't ever have that one single sign-off process. We have multiple specifically selected by an algorithm experts who can review that information, and they're measured against the other individuals within that panel. So we're using this right now to really impact fraud and tax in a major way. But even beyond that, looking at how we can apply this to different disbursement programs around the world, tackling major financial issues in government, really equipping governments with cutting edge technology that keeps things honest and truthful. So when we start to look at things like the CPIA rating, effectively the trust rating of governments for public services, this is a major win for a lot of governments around the world. So we're bringing it for a trusted partnership with a lot of governments. And we've got a huge reach with Govs right now. We're working with probably around 60 nations around the world to look at different use cases and how we can apply this globally. Yeah, so we've been really busy in this space. We've been doing this for a number of years now.
That was just, sorry to interrupt, but that was just Astra and Nebula. Oh my, we're still only halfway done. I'm even afraid to ask, what does Nimbus do?
Nimbus, that's designed for social good. It's specifically to connect people to access to justice, really. So if you think about far to reach parts of the world who don't really have great legal processes or don't even have the access, in physical person to lawyers to really adjudicate and help them on matters, that they're underrepresented. And nowhere has really looked at, well, how do we connect these individuals to legal assistance in a fair and trusted manner through the power of digitization? There's no real practice that's being done right now, to our knowledge, on blockchain. So we've built this application really to bring that service to that underrepresented market, and it's multilingual. We've been in long ongoing conversations with organizations like the United Nations and others to really bring this service out to those who need it best. So there is a social good element to what we do. We don't just work with governments, and we're not just working in DeFi. We're actually bringing these products to bring the greater benefit to the world as well. And Cosmos, well, on the flip side of humanitarian and human rights is the commercial and traditional industries. And this is an arbitration tool. This is blockchain arbitration. It's making decisions, faster decision making through arbitration. And we use that service really to bring a more fair and transparent way to large insurers and traditional finance organizations for dispute management. Effectively, within 4 clicks, you can raise a dispute, have it sent out to a panel of experts from the top 10 legal firms around the world. They can adjudicate on the matter and then pass their results back to you in a way that's completely independent, is absolutely less cost to it than the traditional means. You don't have to lawyer up and wait 3 years for a resolution. We're really bringing fairness back to dispute resolution in that respect. But also there's a major benefit in it for the organizations who use it. I mean, think about the data and analytics aspect of this. If you can start to bring information into a smart contract about disputes in a safe and secure manner, we can start to understand the reasons for disputes, where in contracts have failure and lead to disputes, what that means in the end result. And we can start to bring this continuous improvement lifecycle to large organizations where they can learn from contracts, they can understand the clauses that have issues in it, and we can digitize that entirely for them. So it's bifold. We're bringing trust to their customers so that if something goes wrong, they can resolve those issues effectively and independently with our product. But again, for those large corporates as well, we give them a tool set that allows them to save time and money, which is very important to them. And it also allows them to learn from those behavioral patterns and understand where they're not serving their customers best, how they can improve their services, and really cut those liabilities down. So that provides really immeasurable value to a lot of traditional organizations. And again, we're using blockchain to make it transparent, make it fair, and tell the truth the whole way through. So these are truly trusted applications that fit within our full ethos, which is the proof of trust. We're bringing proof of trust through blockchain on these different applications in different ways.
Because I trust you, we just met, but you're a trustful person, so am I. And trust me when I say this, that each and every one of your products deserves a different video in and of itself. And I'm not Joe Rogan. We do not have the time to delve into the nuances today. So our proposal to viewers at home, feel free to comment down below. What would you like to ask about each and every service that Proof of Trust could offer? Now, I'll try my best to at least understand in this interview, how do you manage the scope of what you're trying to achieve? How big is the organization? Just so our viewers could understand the size of this project, the amount of partners you have to even attempt to tackle all 4 areas.
We have a huge number of partnerships, and that spans from large institutional firms who benefit from our applications, but we also partner with some of the major trusted organizations, i.e. the major audits and business advisory service companies, and the leading legal firms around the world too. So we bring trusted names to this application. That comes along with the trusted nature of what we're performing in our duty to serve our customers at the same time. It's we're kind of decentralized at the moment, and that's great. I mean, I think COVID has really proven to the world that we don't all need to congregate and sit in an office. We can work independently around the world. We trust each other in what we're doing. We have our duties and we fulfill that. And at the end of the day, we know that we've got a responsibility within our organization to serve our customers and really prove the value of blockchain, that it's not shadowy coders who are exploiting consumers of these products. Really, it can be a trusted service that has many different benefits, and it's not just about cryptocurrency. Whilst that is a very important aspect of the industry, there are many different areas in which we can do justice.
And just your team, how big is it? How many developers? And you see you're decentralized, so basically the offices, I would assume, are all around the world, as this is a global endeavor, as I hear.
This is absolutely global. We have, I'd say our headcount is under 50 at the moment. That doesn't include development staff. So our development staff's pretty big as well. We have a partnership with IBM, which we can talk about in depth a little bit more. Yeah. But they really bring a lot of manpower in terms of development staff. And we know what it's like in the industry. There's quite a shortage in terms of blockchain developers, but they really provide a robust aspect of what we're doing. And that also brings a trusted element to what we're doing too. There are lots of areas in which we know that our technology stands up when it comes to compliance, regulation, things like GDPR, ensuring that we have really strong enterprise-grade security that comes along with that. A big organization, nobody sits in the same room at the moment, but that's absolutely fine with us. I think this is a modern way to tackle modern issues.
Yeah, absolutely. COVID really changed the way we look at, at first it was, oh, let's have a Skype meeting, etc. Everyone was like, oh, come on, it will never work, let's just meet up in person. Now that COVID forced us into Zoom calls, etc., it seems that, oh, okay, this is actually more efficient and actually the amount of talent which is able to work together from all around the world is just staggering in of itself. So you mentioned IBM, and we're just curious, how deep is this partnership? Or could you just elaborate a bit on your ties with IBM, how they're helping you and vice versa?
Well, IBM, there is no, I would say, they're not stakeholders in our company, first of all. IBM are our technology development partners, which simply means that we've co-developed this. I've personally led on the product lead, the development, the design of the application, along with my colleagues at the Proof of Trust. And as I mentioned earlier, IBM have got a great history of building really robust applications, centralized blockchain applications, of course. You see things like TradeLens, Food Trust, WeTrade, all of these major blockchain applications, and a lot of governmental stuff too. So they really provide us the bandwidth and the ability to work fastly and the ability to work in a decentralized manner too, and really have the trust behind it. So I was fortunate enough to spend close to a couple of years over in the Netherlands in their client innovation centers, working with some extremely intelligent and really leading developers out there too. So really grateful for the partnership. They've done an amazing job so far. But as always, our organization is expanding. We're always looking at hiring more developers, but only the best talent, of course, people that we can trust.
So if you're a competent developer and would like to come to a trusted organization, pun intended, please, Proof of Trust is a great place to start working. And if someone wanted to learn a bit more about the project, they simply have to go to proofoftrust.com, right?
Absolutely. Well, they can go on the proofoftrust.com, but they can also have a look at the Astra protocol too. That is our latest product specifically around DeFi. So there's lots of information on the web that you can find about us. We're also on LinkedIn, we're on Twitter, so we're pretty social. And Medium too, we've got a lot of posts coming out as well from some of my colleagues and myself. I'm personally writing quite a lot at the moment.
Yeah, it's a good read, believe me, as doing research for this project. And while doing research for this project, I noticed that in your writings, you mentioned the patent quite a bit, actually. Could you just elaborate on it and how it led to actually the protocol, the patent, and now actually going into the product itself? So what was the patent process like? What is patentable about this protocol?
Well, I'm certainly not the patent expert. Our founders, come from a rich history of patent development, and we also have an incredible name on our board, the Right Honourable Professor Sir Robin Jacob, probably the most leading authority when it comes to IP around the world, and our patents are pretty solid. But they also put us in a position of great responsibility. I'm a big believer in blockchain and crypto. I don't really need to say any more about that, of course. I think that's quite clear. Obviously being involved in the space since 2013 passively. But the patents are for the assurance and validation of smart contracts, agnostic of the programming language and the blockchain that it sits upon. So if we think about how the industry is going to grow, the way that it has grown, and the importance of smart contracts in this world and how they are the primary executable layer for DeFi, we're in a really important position. And that's why we take our work extremely important. And that's why we're building this out to be a really long-lasting company that has bright ambitions as well.
Yeah, and actually, so the patent, again, helps people trust you more. It also puts a lot of responsibility on you. And the protocol itself, how long did it take to actually develop it? And just for our viewers at home to understand the scope of what you're doing, the protocol itself, it took, and it's constantly evolving, of course, but 2 to 3 years, I would imagine, at least.
We spent the patents, obviously, it's taken a long time to secure such amazing patents. They're globally granted as well, and as part of the World Patent Treaty as well, that covers pretty much most of the globe. Beyond that, the development of the application has taken years. And as you said, it's constantly evolving, and we apply cutting edge methodologies. We have nuclear physicists on our team who ensure that the maths are correct. You have myself, who I've spent many years in financial services designing large scale applications. So we take all of our learnings and our insights. We're constantly looking at the market for new innovation. We're constantly looking within ourselves as experts to bring new innovation to these products. So, when I say we've put blood, sweat and tears in this, you really can believe that. We take our work very seriously, but we have spent a long time developing this. But as you said, it's never ending. We continue to work on this. We continue to derive more intriguing innovations within the application and grow this with time, so that it's not just a one singular product. This is constantly evolving to ensure that it stays market leading in what it does.
And actually, this leads into the flip side, actually. This is our beloved segment where we ask project founders, CEOs, technical leads, the honorable question of what challenges does the protocol face at this moment? Does the whole project face?
Well, I'd like to start with one of the challenges in the industry, and that is, let's talk about Astra in particular, because the other products that they're doing incredibly well. We've had major adoption, and we're seeing great growth in the company and organization. Astra is our latest product, so I'll spend a bit of time thinking about that today. DeFi is at this really pivotal moment right now where we've seen huge advancements. We've seen major yield for a lot of people around the world. And we've seen major risk as well. A lot of people have been cut dry. There's a lot of rug pulls. There's a lot of crushes in the market happening at the same time. And that's created this whole raft of regulation, and knee-jerk reaction from a lot of regulators can often lead to finger on the button when it comes to over-regulation. And that's going to cripple the industry. We have good reach with regulators. We have great reach with governments up to the highest level as well. So we know what's coming. We can see this very clearly. And it's kind of stating the obvious when you look at finance, you look at other organizations as well that are kind of being stifled in their amazing innovation and progress by regulation. So having embracement from the community itself to say, well, hey, these guys have got an incredible product that provides a service to us that protects us is key on our journey. And that's why we're here today, to really spread the awareness of that. We're coming, we're going to be there very soon, and we're going to help mediate and provide that layer of assurance and consumer protection, which is very key, to show that DeFi can grow and it can do it in a safe way. And that's the major challenge, is sitting between regulators, sitting within the community, and ensuring that we manage both appropriately. But I think it's very clear to see that if we live in a world in the future where one product or smart contract doesn't offer consumer protection and the other one does provide consumer protection in a fair and transparent manner, I think it's pretty obvious which I would go for, certainly. And that's not in a biased respect. That's just saying, well, I would always go with a more trusted service. And we can draw that back to the World Wide Web way back in the 2000s or even earlier than that, where we used to look for web trust and understand which was a safe website to go to and which one wasn't. And this is not too dissimilar. But the difference here is that we have, financial ramifications. For a lot of people, their hard-earned money is kind of at stake. And we want to make sure that everyone is protected through this product. And that's why Astra is so critical for the growth of DeFi as a whole. That's what we truly believe, not only from a consumer side, but also in terms of growth. If you look at traditional institutions who wish to participate in this, but are kind of sitting on the edge right now, they're not quite sure whether they want to go in, whether they want to be the latest on the news because they're subject to a rug pull and they've invested in something that was too risky for them, or even that the executable layer, the technology itself has failed. It creates huge amounts of risk, but having that layer of assurance that can settle monies, that can remove the risk and the doubt is really important for the growth on both sides of the industry. So our challenge is kind of our strength at the same time, in that we want people to trust us. We want people to grow with us, and we want to grow the entire industry as a whole, whilst we pacify regulators and we show them actively that we within the community are doing something active to resolve those risks.
Great answer, but I have to push on this a bit because you're in a unique position that you communicate with governments, organizations constantly. And just seeing the news, being involved with the news, governments seem to have very different opinions, and it seems that even within the country there is always division on what to do with crypto, what to do with DeFi. And as you're communicating with them constantly, is this also a day-to-day challenge, just keeping up with the amount of legislative changes in opinion, political opinions changing with the wind, it seems? How do you view that as a big part of your challenge?
Absolutely. I think that comes with growth. Like anything, governments are trying to tackle these issues and understand them best. And that's where education and understanding of these products and why they're beneficial, why we need this growth and revolution in financial services and the traditional means is important. Yes, it's difficult to manage conversations with lots of different nations at the same time, but I would say that we're doing an incredibly good job of that. You have to look at our advisory board to really understand the caliber of individual that we have that helps with that dialogue. The likes of former EU Commissioner Phil Hogan, the likes of the Right Honourable Professor Sir Robin Jacob, the likes of Lord Hill, all of these people really can allow us to facilitate those conversations to ensure that we're able to educate people in the right way. And above and beyond that as well, as part of our initiatives with government, it's creating innovation in education centres domiciled within those nations so that we can teach people. We can educate not only the technology aspects, but the benefits too, so that we can not change the opinions of people, but put them in the best place to understand the benefits so that we can have the best likely outcomes in terms of not over-regulating, but working with the community and understanding the benefits at the same time. So it can be challenging. We have a lot of sleepless nights. We work really hard. We work around the clock. That's not just myself, but that's the entire team. But that comes with playing an important role in the industry, we believe. It's taking that responsibility and really going with it and carrying it with a passion.
Yeah, thank you for being so honest. It's refreshing to see that projects actually acknowledge that working around the clock is part of the job. So for those future developers out there, yes, it's part of the part of the job description to be passionate about your project and both what Astra, Nebula, Nimbus, and Cosmos are trying to do. Cosmos, sorry, word slip there. They're actually such noble efforts. Each and every one of them really deserves your best effort. And we're just happy to be observers of what you're doing. We'll be happy to cover it in future interviews. And before you go, I have to ask, if you could give advice to crypto projects and governments right now, what would that advice be on how they approach transparency regulation in order to gain trust?
Invest in compliance layers. That's really important right now. Unfortunately, we're kind of at the whim of regulators. If they want to shut projects down and they want to over-regulate and reduce the types of products that we can offer, that's inevitable. It's that or face closure really in a lot of respects, or face long drawn out court processes. So my advice to any project, even the layer ones out there, is really start to embrace compliance layers, invest in them actively, grow them, and really pacify that middle ground so that you can bring out further products and you can bring out those innovations that are going to benefit all of your current consumers, but open that world up to future consumers at the same time. Those guys who are teetering on the edge, that they're kind of unsure, they like the idea of DeFi, but they're scared of the risks. Pacify those risks, mitigate it by bringing them down through compliance layers. That's exactly what I think is needed in the industry right now.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Steve. So it was a pure pleasure to have you here. For viewers at home, if you have any questions for future videos, feel free to comment them below. This was the Flipside of Crypto. Thank you for joining us.
Really appreciate the time and thank you for having me.